I'm about to show you how to fix a no power fault, intermittent shutoff, and power light blinks endlessly. For this unit specifically, the customer was experiencing the intermittent shutoff, and also intermittently the power light would blink endlessly. In order to get started, the first thing we need to do is remove the motherboard out of the device. The first thing I like to do with these Synology devices is check the battery to make sure that it's emitting the correct voltage. So let's go ahead and remove it. And when I do a check with my multimeter, we get 3.1 volts, which is technically okay. But if I put my new battery here and take a voltage of that one, we'll notice that it's doing 3.3. Technically this battery is okay, but we're gonna replace it. If you have a no power fault, and if it takes you, say, 3 or 4 times of pressing the power button for the device to finally turn on, replacing the battery will resolve that issue. If replacing the battery did not resolve your no power fault, it's possible that the transistor at location ID Q2 needs to be replaced. So this repair does require the use of a soldering iron, and we're gonna go ahead and desolder this transistor. Just gonna add some solder on both sides. Now you could technically be doing this with a hot air gun, but I find it easier to just use the soldering iron, or at least faster. All right, we're gonna desolder all the old excess solder, put some fresh solder here. I'm gonna be placing my new transistor. I'm just soldering one of the legs in first on that side, and then now we can go ahead and solder the last 2 legs. Let's clean it up and see how it looks after it's cleaned. Well, that actually looks pretty good. Yeah, I'm satisfied. Now, if you're experiencing the power light blinking endlessly fault, you're most likely suffering of the Atom C2000 bug. In order to resolve that, we're going to install a 100 ohm resistor right here between pin 1 and pin 6. Now, looking at our board, we already have a resistor in place, and we're going to do a quick little measurement. We have 98.3 ohms. I believe that's close enough. So this is a factory authorized repair, and it looks like it was actually already done. So either this module here was part of a recall, or it was one of the later versions where the resistor had been installed before the device was sold. For the purpose of this video, we're gonna go ahead and replace it anyways, even though I believe that it is a good resistor and it doesn't technically need the replacement. I'm gonna go ahead and use my Hakko FR301 desolder gun. So what we're gonna do here is I'm actually gonna add some fresh solder as well, and then we're gonna try again. We appear to be experiencing some technical difficulties. It's not working. I'm just gonna do it with my soldering iron instead. So we're gonna add some solder to the joint so we can get some good flow. And with my little tweezers from the back, I'm gonna be pulling the resistor. All right, so we just freed up one leg. Now with the desolder wick, we'll go ahead and clean up all the excess or leftover. And I still have a little bit. We're gonna try to desolder from the top. There we go. So what I'm doing is I just bent the pins on the other end so that the resistor stays in place when I flip it over. And now we'll go ahead and solder it. And we'll cut off the excess. And one last thing we can do is recheck our resistance here. And on this one we have 100.4.3 ohms. That is, again, close enough. We have one final repair we're going to be doing, and it's going to be on the power supply this time around. Now, if we look over here, we have a couple wires on the back side. The first one here is ground. The second one is PS on. So when I plug in the device, right now I'm getting about 86 millivolts. Now, if I turn the device off, now it is saying 5 volts. So the repair we're going to be doing is replacing the resistor right over here, labeled 392, which carries the voltage through to the motherboard via that PS on line. So to recap, when the device is on, we have 0 volts from the PS on line, and when it is off, we have 5 volts. So if I were to short out the PS on line to ground, it would go to 0 volts, and that should trigger the device to turn on. So let's go ahead and do that. And because we don't have a good angle on the power light here, I'm just gonna put the mic inside of the device so you can hear the fans are turning on. And so with the pliers, I'm gonna short out those 2 lines to one another. And so we just heard it turn on right now. Now the reason I just showed you this is because with heat and cold, the value of capacitors and resistors does change ever so slightly. When the device was off, we were getting ever so slightly voltage, the 0.086 volts. Or 86 millivolts. Now, when things get really hot, resistance goes down on most components, capacitors, and thus the value of the voltage that's allowed to go through might rise a little bit. Now, if that value rises enough, it might actually trigger the device to shut off because it's detecting voltage through the PS on line. So that's the theory number one as to why it is important to replace the resistor 392, is to avoid future issues due to heat-related problems. Number two is this power supply was manufactured by a completely different company than Synology and is not the best suited for this device. Some techs that I've spoken to with in depth suggest that the power going through is a little bit more than it should be and causes premature failure with that NPN transistor that we replaced at Q2. And both theories actually could be completely incorrect, but based off past experiences, when this resistor swap was not performed, there was a small chance and a small percentage of devices that were sent back for warranty repair, whereas every time that repair was also performed in addition to the transistor replacement, the devices have yet to come back. So as a preventative, we're going to go ahead and do that next. My wire cutters are gone. Can I borrow yours? Thank you. And now a little cleanup. So that completes our final repair of the device. Let's put everything back together and do one final check. We've reassembled the device and now everything's working. If you'd like to send in your device for us to fix, we'll also have that information down below in the description. If you like the video, if you found it helpful or useful, leave us a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.